Chinese spelunkers were astonished after discovering a massive 630-foot sinkhole.
Deep under the hills of southern China, engineers stumbled upon a discovery that defied all logic. What they thought was a simple sinkhole turned out to be a massive opening that seemed to drop into the core of the Earth.
Scientists have discovered ancient forests with animals and plants they thought were extinct in several sinkholes.
But the real shock came when they reached the bottom. Because what they found wasn't stone, fossils, or ruins. It was something no one on Earth expected. A discovery that defied all logic. In early 2022, a team of engineers conducting a routine land survey in Lei County, Guangxi, China, detected something deeply unusual during their satellite scans, a massive depression in the Earth. It was far larger, deeper, and more mysterious than anything previously recorded in the region. What at first appeared to be just another hole quickly revealed itself to be one of the most extraordinary geological finds of the decade. Locals had a name for it, Heaven's Mouth. For generations, villagers told eerie stories, birds vanishing as they flew over it, strange winds blowing upward from its depths, and whispers about a bottomless pit no one dared to approach. Most dismissed these tales as folklore. Until now. When engineers finally reached the location, they were shocked. The sinkhole stretched 306 meters long, 150 meters wide, and plunged nearly 200 meters straight down, large enough to swallow a 60-story skyscraper. From above, it looked endless. Even at midday, its interior remained pitch black. Attempts to explore it from the surface quickly failed. Engineers sent in drones equipped with lights and cameras, but as soon as they descended into the darkness, the signal vanished, and the drone's footage went completely black, almost as if the sinkhole refused to give up its secrets. But scientists needed answers. Could it be dangerous? Was it expanding? Could it threaten nearby villages? To investigate, the team began the enormous task of draining the water that had collected inside. Industrial pumps ran day and night, while advanced scanners mapped the cavern walls as the water receded. What began as a routine inspection soon escalated into a full-scale scientific operation. Specialists from across China arrived, geologists, environmental experts, cave researchers, and scientists from the China Geological Survey, all trying to understand the nature of this impossible formation. Then, after days of pumping, something unexpected emerged. Through the mist rising from below, the engineers saw a faint green glow. At first, they assumed it was a reflection or a trick of the light. But as more water drained, the truth became unmistakable. There was life down there. Plants, trees, a hidden ecosystem somehow thriving in total darkness. The sinkhole was no longer just a geological wonder, it had become a biological puzzle, challenging what scientists thought they knew about life beneath the Earth. To understand how such an isolated world could exist, we first have to uncover what created this enormous, impossible hole in the first place.
The land that seems to devour itself. Southern China's Guangxi region sits atop one of the most unusual terrains on the planet, a landscape made of stone that is constantly dissolving beneath your feet. The ground here is formed mostly of limestone mixed with smaller layers of dolomite and gypsum. These rocks are anything but stable. When rainwater falls, it absorbs carbon dioxide from the air, becoming a weak natural acid. Over thousands, even millions of years, this acidic water seeps into the earth, slowly eating away at the rock below. Scientists call this process karstification, and it's responsible for Guangxi's jagged cliffs, hidden caves, and its world-famous sinkholes. As the groundwater and underground rivers carve their way through the stone, they create enormous tunnels and chambers deep beneath the surface, some so massive they could fit entire city blocks inside. But what makes this underground world spectacular also makes the surface above dangerously fragile. When the ceiling of one of these giant caves becomes too thin to support its own weight, it collapses. On the surface, the result is a massive crater. Locals call these formations Tian Keng, heavenly pets. They plunge deep into the earth, often harboring their own miniature forests and rare plants at the bottom. Guangxi has more of these colossal sinkholes than anywhere else on Earth, earning it the title Sinkhole Capital of the World. The most famous is the Shaozhai Heavenly Pit, the largest ever discovered. But recently, the spotlight has shifted to a newly revealed sinkhole in Lei County. It isn't the biggest, but what lies inside has stunned scientists. When engineers first began examining the Lei pit, they quickly realized it might be part of a much larger underground system. Evidence suggested that ancient rivers, once flowing over the land, had long ago disappeared underground and were still quietly cutting through the rock. High-resolution imaging tools and drilling equipment confirmed their suspicions. The limestone surrounding the sinkhole is still shifting. The pit is actively growing, expanding a little more with every rainfall as more rock dissolves and the underground void widens. Then came the discovery no one saw coming. Sensors placed deep inside the sinkhole recorded unusually high oxygen levels, far higher than what should exist in such an enclosed space. Normally, air that deep underground becomes stale and oxygen poor, but not here. This could only mean one thing. Something down there is producing oxygen, most likely plants, living, growing, and performing photosynthesis far beneath the surface. That single clue changed everything. The Lae sinkhole might not be a dead, dark pit after all. It could be hiding a thriving secret ecosystem, and the team was about to uncover exactly what was living in the darkness below.
The descent, entering the lost world beneath China. In May 2022, after weeks of intense preparation, a specialized team of engineers, veteran cave explorers, and elite biologists gathered at the edge of the massive Lao County sinkhole. Their mission was unprecedented, to make the first human descent into one of the deepest and least understood natural structures on Earth. No one knew what lay inside, and the risks were enormous. Every tool, every rope, every sensor had been tested and retested. Nothing was left to chance. The team understood that one mistake could mean disaster. To tackle the near-vertical limestone walls, engineers installed reinforced anchors and industrial-grade safety lines. The descent would be done in stages, each movement carefully calculated. Before any human touched the ropes, drones equipped with laser scanners swept through the darkness, creating detailed 3D maps of the sinkhole's interior. Air monitors probed for toxic gases, rapid temperature shifts, and low oxygen pockets. Only when the readings were safe did the descent begin. The moment the team crossed over the rim, the world changed. The warm surface air cooled sharply. Sunlight disappeared in minutes, replaced by a deep blue twilight, and then complete darkness. Their headlamps cut through dense mist rising from below, revealing ghostly shapes along the walls. Through the fog, the explorers saw something incredible. 3 enormous cave entrances carved into the rock face, each one large enough to swallow a building. They looked like gateways into an untouched hidden world. As they repelled deeper, the smell of damp earth and moss thickened. The walls glittered with thin mineral streaks, delicate silver-like lines marking thousands of years of water carving the stone layer by layer. This was not just a sinkhole. It was a geological time capsule. After hours of careful descent, the team finally touched down nearly 200 meters below the surface. But instead of the hard rock they expected, their boots sank into thick, moist soil, soft, rich, and full of life. Their instruments confirmed it. High oxygen, moisture, organic material. This place wasn't dead. It was alive. When the explorers lifted their lights and swept the beams across the basin, they froze in disbelief. They had not simply reached the bottom of a sinkhole. They had stepped into a hidden ecosystem, sealed off from the outside world, untouched for centuries, maybe longer. A world no human had ever seen.
The lost forest beneath the earth. Imagine standing at the edge of a massive pit, a hole so deep it seems to stretch into the sky. Now imagine discovering, at the very bottom, an entire hidden forest untouched by human hands. Not a small patch of trees, but an entire ancient world of green thriving in total isolation. The first thing that stunned the explorers were the trees. Some towered over 40 meters tall, the height of a 13-story building. Their crowns reached upward, brushing the thin shafts of sunlight that managed to slip through the giant opening above. It was a sight almost no human had ever witnessed, a fully grown forest flourishing inside the earth. Everything about this place felt like a window into the past. The forest floor was covered in thick, lush ferns, long vines draped from the cliffs like curtains. A soft layer of moss blanketed the ground so deeply, it felt like walking on cushions. It was pure, untouched nature, a world completely sealed away. When scientists analyzed the soil, they were amazed. It was incredibly nutrient-rich, built up slowly over centuries. Tiny rock fragments had fallen from the sinkhole walls for generations. Mineral-rich water had seeped down to the bottom year after year. Together, they created some of the most fertile soil imaginable, the perfect foundation for giant trees and dense vegetation. Even more astonishing, this underground forest had created its own weather system. A dense canopy blocked direct sunlight, forming a natural microclimate. Cool, moist, and permanently misty. It was like a naturally engineered greenhouse, providing ideal conditions for plants to grow all year long. This isolation sparked excitement among researchers. They realized this hidden oasis could be home to undiscovered species, plants, insects, fungi, and microorganisms that evolved differently from anything on the surface. Some life forms could even be remnants from prehistoric times, survivors of eras long gone. And then came another surprise. As the explorers moved deeper into the green labyrinth, they found flowing streams of water. This meant the ecosystem wasn't just surviving, it was self-sustaining. It had its own water supply, its own climate, and its own complex web of life. A completely separate world, hidden beneath the earth for centuries. But with this discovery came questions. How could such a vibrant ecosystem remain concealed for so long? What secrets does it hold about Earth's past? And what unknown species might still be living in this lost forest? This mysterious world was more than a scientific find. It was a reminder of nature's incredible power to flourish in even the most unlikely places.
The geological mystery beneath the forest. From the moment the research team stepped inside the pit, the scientists realized something wasn't normal. Most sinkholes collapsed violently, leaving behind jagged, shattered walls. But this one was different. Its interior walls were smooth, almost polished, as if the stone had been shaped with purpose rather than broken apart. That single detail completely changed the investigation. If the ground had collapsed suddenly, the walls would be rough and uneven, but smooth surfaces meant something else entirely. The sinkhole had been carved slowly, patiently, over thousands of years by flowing water. As scientists examined the formation, the story began to reveal itself. For centuries, rainwater had mixed with carbon dioxide in the air, forming a weak acid. That acidic water seeped into tiny cracks in the limestone, dissolving it grain by grain. Eventually, parts of the ceiling thinned and collapsed, opening a window into a vast underground world that had been hidden for millennia. But what they found next stunned the entire team. Using seismic scanners, machines that send deep sound waves into the earth, the engineers built a 3D map of what lay beneath the forest. The data revealed long tunnels and massive chambers branching out far beyond the visible sinkhole. This wasn't a simple pit, it was the entrance to an enormous underground network, possibly stretching for miles. Then came an even more important discovery. The team collected water samples from several points within the sinkhole. The results showed active groundwater flowing beneath the hidden forest floor. This meant a living underground river was still moving through the system, feeding the vegetation from below. This explained the ecosystem's unusual strength. The plants and trees weren't surviving on rainfall alone. They were being nourished by a constant flow of mineral-rich water rising from beneath the earth. With its polished ancient walls, active water system, and thriving ecosystem, scientists began calling the formation a living laboratory. It offered a rare chance to study geology, water, and biology interacting perfectly inside a naturally sealed environment. Despite its massive size, the structure was incredibly stable. There were no signs of shifting rock, no fresh cracks, no ongoing erosion. Most sinkholes keep evolving, collapsing slowly over time, but this one seemed to have reached a perfect equilibrium. It could stand unchanged for centuries, but even with all these discoveries, one haunting question still remained, a puzzle no one on the team could yet explain.